In today's PowerPoint, we are going to take a look at global and international engineering, and this would be your chapter 4 of your textbook. Now, we're all aware of the rapid globalization that is taking place and has been taking place, and we're going to look at it in the context of the engineering profession. So the globalization of the engineering profession has increased rapidly, and this is due to corporate mergers and acquisitions. Also due to the availability of high-speed and low-cost communication systems and cheap labor costs in many nations. So there is the old versus new. In the old world marketplace, countries competed by trading goods and services that were primarily developed and produced using capital and labor from their own countries, from within their own borders. But as global restrictions eased and trade barriers changed, companies then found themselves, they found that they could maximize profits by investing in capital resources in other countries. So this change in policies, new policies that enable the movement of labor across boundaries. Many organizations have added incentives to globalize their business. The current market climate encourages firms to shift factories, jobs, research facilities, distribution centers, and even corporate management operations to maximize their market share, develop new products, and get access to raw materials that are needed, and also access to cheaper skilled and unskilled labor. So how does this affect the role of today's engineers? All this globalization means that they must have an understanding of the world community around them, about world cultures, and even the world marketplace. They need strong technical skills, but these technical skills by themselves are often insufficient. In addition to the technical skills that you're going to get and learn in your program, you also need to have the understanding of this global community. It's unfortunate that in many cases, engineers are the problem solvers, but are really weak in cultural and language skills that are required in today's global marketplace. And many of you guys are already sort of ahead of that step because you're all here. And I understand a lot of you guys are from, from all over the world, from all these other countries, and we're all gathered here. And some of us are from here, but we're exposed to, this kind of international community, and I think that's a really great start. All right, so chapter 4, what it looks at is we're going to review several factors that drive the global economy. We're going to explore many of the international communities that are, opportunities that are available to engineers, and we're going to discuss the preparation needed for an international engineering career. So first, let's look at the factors that drive the global economy. Okay. The 4 things we're going to look at is the changing world maps and political alliances. We're going to look at the role of mergers and acquisitions and international partnerships. And we'll look at NAFTA in particular and the EU. The changing world maps and political alliances, the changing of the governments and the changing of political leaders in power, and the development of new laws, regulations, and policies have really greatly affected the global market. And new countries have been created by the breakup of the former Soviet Union. Governmental, organizational, and governmental changes have occurred in Eastern Europe. And we have few nationalistic tendencies that have taken root in far and Middle East and Asia and Africa. So all over the world, there's all these political changes happening. So this has a profound impact on the economic conditions that influence market conditions and the world production and the distribution of goods and services. Next, we look at the role of mergers, acquisitions, and international partnerships. The effect of mergers, acquisitions, and international partnerships has accelerated global opportunities for engineers. If engineers working for, your it says US because the textbooks from the States, but let's say if you're working for a Canadian-based corporation, suddenly learn that your employer has been acquired by an international firm, you suddenly become a global engineer. So following an acquisition, management decisions may now originate from an overseas site, from another country. So product development, design, and manufacturing may now be performed from a totally different cultural perspective because there might be a new leadership, new organizational culture. Expectations and goals might suddenly change significantly. Travel, communications, and interactions with others in their firm might take a new perspective. Now, one of the trade agreements that we should look at is NAFTA, which is between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. NAFTA was designed to lower tariffs and increase international competitiveness. It has created the second largest free trade market in the world after the European Economic Area, which is number 1. So the important outcomes for this agreement include an increased market access for trade, greater mobility for professional and business travelers, legal protection for copyrights and patents, and a mechanism for tariffs to reemerge if an important surge hurts a domestic industry. So if this lift in the tariffs is affecting a local industry, a domestic industry, then they'll reconsider the trade agreements. However, you have to understand that this NAFTA is also not without its share of controversy and criticism, right? Moving on, there's the European Union. The European Community is an institutional framework for the construction of a united Europe. So EU has authority in a number of areas, such as foreign trade, agricultural, competition, and transportation. So over the years, in response to economic developments, formal authority has been extended to even other areas in addition to the trade, agriculture, and transportation. The new areas are research and technology, energy, the environment, development, even education and training. So the next topic that your chapter covers is international opportunities for engineers. So international opportunities for engineers. Here are the different industries that we're going to look at, from the car industry to manufacturing, construction, pharmaceutical, food, petroleum, chemical, computers, telecommunications, environmental consulting, and technical sales. In the automobile industry, from the time assembly line process was developed by Henry Ford in the early 1900s until the late 1970s, this industry was pretty much dominated by the big three in Detroit. If you haven't heard yet, it's the General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler. But something happened in the mid-70s when the Japanese automakers began to implement quality improvement processes. Now their products then started to become more popular in the world marketplace, including North America. The U.S. was recovering from a major escalation in gas prices. High mileage, low-cost cars was suddenly in demand, and that's what the Japanese automakers were providing. So from that point in time on, the sales of U.S.-made vehicles dropped, and those of foreign competitors had gained overall market share. So GM was once commanded over half of the market share, is now fighting to achieve their share. So the traditional big three have expanded their territories by opening new plants and operating facilities around many regions of the world. Okay, so each of the major U.S. car makers has established joint ventures, bought or merged with former competitors to increase their presence and sales. So I guess the mantra is more, if you can't beat them, join them. So, instead of like shutting out competition, they've embraced it and tried to work with it. Okay, so many engineering graduates are now finding lots of opportunities with U.S.-based foreign automotive divisions and the rapidly growing base in addition to the Detroit Big Three. Next, we'll take a look at construction. industry, the construction of roads, bridges, dams, airports, power plants, tunnels, buildings, factories, even whole cities have created like a worldwide boom for engineers, right, involved in construction. And this rapid growth of worldwide construction activity has been enhanced by the expansion of global economies. And like I've talked before, NAFTA and the EU, all these loosening of trade restrictions due to them, and a desire by many countries to improve productivity and living conditions after years of decaying and neglect of their major facilities. Next, we'll take a look at pharmaceutical. So for engineering students, the pharmaceutical industry provides international opportunities in research and development, testing and manufacturing of equipment, construction of production facilities, and technical skills and management all around the globe. Now, there has been growing concerns and a lot of pressure from governments and private sector to control costs, which has forced manufacturers to restrict operations somewhat. And also, there's an increasing competition in global pharmaceutical market, and the more restrictive pricing environment. And because of these two factors, drug companies have then tried to solidify their operations through advanced product development, as well as mergers, acquisitions, and alliances with other international firms. And the next one is food industry. So as machinery and technology evolve, the process of food production and distribution has grown more efficient. Technical expertise is needed for all stages of worldwide food production and also distribution. And since many of the raw materials that are needed for food production are grown throughout the world, engineering knowledge is needed to ensure that the food being grown meets the highest quality specifications. Scientists and engineers work together and they research and develop new products, while others are involved in the design of production and processing systems. Engineers are also used in the layout of production plants and facilities and are often involved in the startup, training, and management of local workforce. So when you think about food industry, these are all the opportunities that are available for engineers working in that industry in the global sense. So distribution in a timely and efficient manner is critical to the supply for the corporation, and engineers can help ensure that the products reach their customers safely and quickly. Next is petroleum. Since oil supplies in certain countries or certain areas have become or are becoming depleted, there's a strong demand for individuals interested in the exploration of new sites. So oil companies need engineers for the design and construction of new facilities, production, processing, and storage. These engineers' expertise is used primarily to make a facility operational, but also to train and develop a local workforce to run the plant once it's fully functional. So once this facility is now fully functional, then the engineer's job on that site is primarily is going to become management and troubleshooting for them. Next is chemical processing industry. Industries across the globe rely on a vast array of chemicals, fibers, films, finishes, petroleum, plastics, pharmaceuticals, biotechnology, composite material products developed and produced by this industry. So while these firms are not involved in the actual production of the end product, they are responsible for the key ingredients that are going to be used in a wide range of other industries. So it's important for the manufacturing facilities to be located in close proximity to the customers that incorporate them into their products. So it's typical for these chemical processing corporations to have facilities in many regions of the world, all over the world. So for the engineer, this may require an active involvement with people from different cultures and using different languages, and also different methods of operation. Next, we look at computer and electronics industry. New products are being developed, manufactured, and distributed so rapidly that in many cases, last year's product is very quickly out of date. So among the wide range of specialties included in this field are communications, computers, solid-state materials, consumer and industrial electronics, robotics, power energy, and biomedical applications. And regardless of the home base of the computer or electronics manufacturer, much of the actual production of the products is now being done in other developing countries. The intent is to keep the cost down and profit margins up by making use of foreign labor and production. This requires a lot of engineering involvement, not only in the product, but also in the facility planning, the plant startup, hiring, and training of local workforce. Next, we have the telecommunications industry. So engineering developments in cellular and wireless phone communications, voice and data transmissions, video communications, satellite technology, and electronic mail have all had a tremendous global impact. So engineers from all around the globe now interact daily on routine matters such as program development, product design, plant facilities, operations, distributions, and quality control issues. So the developments in this industry have made it possible to bring out the fast, efficient, reliable, and affordable communication and information in new markets of the world that has used to be considered unreachable. So some common international engineering employment opportunities are designing, manufacturing, and distributing products such as integrated semiconductors, networks and networked computers, telephone products and networks, and advanced communications. And next, environmental industry. So since many countries of the world are lagging far behind in environmental policies, serious problems are surfacing at a rapid rate. And we're going to take a look at all these very serious problems next class in the next chapter, chapter 5. But for now, just, be aware that there are many serious problems surfacing, and that's why environmental industry is extremely important. Many regions are in dire need of assistance with water purification systems, sanitization facilities, air pollution remediation, waste management, hazardous and toxic waste cleanup, pest control, landfill, and recycling issues, and also issues related to nuclear safety. So in some areas of the world, the funds, facilities, and resources are required to meet environmental challenges. These funds are not available. These facilities are not available, and these resources are not available. So for environmental engineers, technical comprehension of the environmental products is not enough. They must have cultural experience and sensitivity, and also motivation to work through, work with difficult challenges in many different parts of the world. Next, consulting. So over time, consulting firms have evolved as a source of technical assistance for entities that don't have the time, resources, or capability to address specific engineering issues from within their own organization. Some of the large international consulting firms maintain a staff of engineers from diverse backgrounds who are technically and culturally prepared to assist global clients with a wide range. For engineering students interested in a wide variety of experiences, working with a broad range of global industries, working in consulting industry can be a very interesting and a very suitable choice for the career that they seek. I think this is the last one, technical sales. On a global scale, technical sales have taken on an even more critical role. The rapid increase in the demand for global technology means a critical need for trained technical people to handle international sales, installation and field engineering, and customer liaison roles with clients across the globe. So these engineers must not only be ethnically skilled, but also have appropriate training in language, culture, customs, and sensitivity to effectively interact with foreign customers. They must be able to represent themselves appropriately and also represent their company, the product, the culture. They must be able to demonstrate that their firm has the motivation and the talent to adequately serve the global customer in a manner that is consistent with the customer's cultural and technical needs. Okay, so for the next section, we're going to take a look at preparing for a global career, what you need to be aware of. So we'll look at language and cultural proficiency, international work experience, which is co-ops and internships. We'll take a look at special considerations, like things you need to be concerned about when looking at international work experience, and also choosing the right employer. So first is the language and cultural proficiency. So despite its growing worldwide usage, an engineer can't assume that English would be understood everywhere. So it's important that engineering students take advantage of any language and cultural training that's available. Being able to speak a foreign associate's language, knowing that their region's culture demonstrates a sensitivity and willingness to work together. Even if you don't pick up the language extremely well, just showing that you are willing to or work with shows a lot of respect and sensitivity and willingness, right, to be equal with them. You know, we're all gathered here, and most of us are from all over the world. Some of us are from here, but I think, you know, we are already so much, you know, really exposed to this international community, and many of us speak more than one language. And even if you feel that your grasp of English isn't as, you know, perfect as you like to be, just remind yourself, just remember that, you know, just knowing another language is already a big bonus on your resume, and is already a big step towards an international career. So the next thing we look at in the textbook is about international work experience. So they talk about the benefits of obtaining international work experience, such as valuable work experience, guaranteed immersion in a new cultural setting, greater foreign language competency, and the challenges of living and learning in an unfamiliar work environment, and developing an international network. So just having connections with mentors and employers and, you know, like instructors and professors and other of your peers, just to have that connection is, you know, quite priceless. And of course, a lot of what is being said here in the textbook is written from the point of view of, you know, someone who is living in the United States trying to, you know, find a career elsewhere in the global community. But here we are in our class, we're actually kind of the opposite, where we're already gathered from all over the world here in Vancouver, and we already have sort of like all this international experience, and I guess this slide is more here to remind you that you're getting all this by being here. The valuable work experience, immersion in a new cultural setting, it's going to make your English better, and then also, you know, you're also learning a lot by, you know, living and learning in a different work and a study environment than you're used to. All right, so special considerations, which I'm sure many of you have already experienced, is the language and cultural skills. So when finding work with another employer, not from your home country, you must be able to demonstrate that you'll be an asset, not an impediment to the daily operations of the firm, that you're going to be able to give and, you know, provide and add to, not hinder, right? And next is time and effort. A great deal of effort. You know, expect to be spending a lot of time writing letters of inquiry, trying to research information, customizing a resume in a language that you're not super familiar with, completing application materials, visa forms, travel arrangements, and other, you know, administrative stuff like that. Also note that there might be confusion over job responsibilities. Many have high expectations for challenging work and significant level of responsibility at their, you know, internships or jobs, and they're actually quite disappointed with the actual assignments, which might not seem as important to them as they had expected. So just be prepared for that. You know, that will all come in time, but when you're starting out, no one's going to throw a huge project at you, right? Next, the additional costs. To be prepared for that, as you're all aware of, expenses like airfare, local and regional travel, housing, and administrative fees, they all add up. And the final one is the housing issues. Be aware of that. All right, so choosing the right employer opportunity. So if you're looking for work opportunity internationally, you have to thoroughly or even locally here in Canada, you have to really do your research. Research companies, industries, and government agencies to find the right fit for you. You have to first identify the organizations that have a global commitment that's consistent with your background, skills, experiences, and interests. So once you have identified employers involved in the global marketplace, then you should try and contact them directly if there's on-campus contacts or by other forms of correspondence.